Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of our large-scale landscape follow-along. So as you can remember, I have changed absolutely nothing. That's where we stopped part 1. And you might remember, if you've seen it, that I was a little bit unsatisfied about the way the grass is scattered at the front. So let's fix that first before we go any further. And there's a couple of things you could do. You can play with the slope, with some of the mask settings. You can increase the density, but actually I think it's mainly due to the fact that we have cropped or have the camera cull of the first or the front terrain so tightly fit to our camera view. So what we're going to do is make sure the front is checked in here. And then we go down to the camera cull and increase the padding. And as you can see, we get more like this. And I think that will help a lot. We're going to do the same thing with the hills. So let's get rid of that. Let's pick our hills and do the same thing over here with the padding slightly increased, like so. Okay, so that's it. So what we're going to do now is play with lighting, and for that we're going to use the new True Sky 3, and so we're going to set up the True Sky scene, and I like to use, let's go with, clear morning. Click on that. And before we actually take a look at the rendered view, there are two things. First of all, you can see all this gray stuff, which is actually the earth or the surface that is included in the random or in the standard setup of a True Sky scene. So we're heading over to the primary and I'm shutting surface off. It also improves the performance of your scene because you don't have any sort of subdivision or displacement in here. And the next thing we're going to do, because on my end, probably, excuse me, probably not on your end, if I'm going to compositing, I'm seeing this. So we've got the collection of the True Sky base with all the settings in there, and it goes to an output which we're going to delete, and then we're going to connect the output to the group output and the viewer, because otherwise you would not see the camera effects and things like that we're going to apply. So let's head back to layout and take a look how that actually looks like. Might take a while. So what we can also immediately see is that, let's head back over to True Terrain. I probably forgot to change the roughness on my materials on the front and the hill. So let's take a look if that is true. So dark rock shader, yeah, roughness is 1. Let's increase this to 5 or 10. So we can do this like here, over there, and dark grass is a 1 as well, and grass should not. Okay, that is set to glossy, and I like to play with the roughness map, so I'm just heading over to roughness, so that looks like this. That's fine. And then we'll checking the same thing with the front, and let's see if we have everything set. Here we are. 10, 5 and 10, that's okay. We can, the brown gravel, as you might remember, is for our path. We can actually increase this to 0.5 to give it a little bit more dimension. Okay, so that's that. And now we can play with the the sun setting and, more importantly, the clouds. So what we could do is we could still use, let's go over here, and we could pick one of those cloud presets, or what's pretty neat is you go on your left and go to your scene builder, and if you activate that, these icons appear. So the first thing I'm doing, I'm not bothered about daytime, thanks for the tool shortcuts, I don't need that as well. And with that activated, wherever you click, the sun will be. So something like that looks actually quite nice. And then we're activating the cloud panel, and then over here we're going to take, I don't know, I like cumulus clouds. And the great thing over here is you get a visual representation on how high your scene or your clouds are getting and where you put them. So if I'm putting them there or here, it makes a huge difference. So that looks actually pretty interesting. And don't forget, as long as this is activated, everywhere you click there, your sun will be. So let's deactivate it by clicking select box again. So if I'm clicking over here, nothing will happen. And you can play now with, leave that as it is. You can increase the volume preset to medium and the quality mode to accurate. And the volumes, you've got quality settings over here. For the atmosphere, we can increase that slightly over here, and the same thing with the volume for the cumulus cloud, so that's pretty nice. If you want, you can go to fast viewports and activate that. That makes it a little bit more reactive in the viewport. You don't have to. There is the volume looks you can play with, and this changes the appearance of your cloud quite a bit. So we can go with that. We could give that a render, but I do think that, imagine you walk on this path, it's very unlikely that that is the whole scene you're seeing. So what we're doing is we're going back to solid view, because that gives us more performance. And we're also going back to our true terrain. And what we're going to do is we're deactivating the current setting, and we're going to create another, terrain, and create terrain. And we're going to pick a height map once more over here, and we're taking whatever mountain you want. Let's go with mountain number 5. And we're putting it in here, and we can see the whole setup right now, and we're moving that to something like over here, going back, and you can see it here, and we can just scale it up, bring it up like so. You can increase it like so, rotate it like so, something like that. Move it over here, rotate it again like so. Alt D, duplicate it, we're moving it like here and there. Let's something like this, and once more like so. Bring it to the back, increase it like so, and again we're going to increase the resolution to this, view amount 0.2, shader, create terrain layer. We're taking some black rock over here, 2K should suffice because they're in the back. I think 100 will suffice as well. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's about right. And you can also see that the clouds are misting up our background, like so. And eventually we're also going to give it some snow. And as our, and of course everything is now settled with snow, and we're doing the same thing as before. We're taking a normal mask and slightly increase this to something like 1. Can increase it a little bit more. So we got really nice snowy mountains like that. Can even use a little bit of this, like so. And now we only have, we can have fun with playing again. We're activating the true sky scene builder, and we're playing with the sun setting, and we're taking the one we're liking most. So that's probably too low, but it looks nice. And if you want to change it more gradually, or you can put it, we can put it in here, and we can add an effect like bloom. It's usually a little bit too much, so I'm increasing the threshold multiplier. You can see how that increases or decreases the bloom. Something like that. We can also, over here, we can increase the size of the sun, and over here we can decrease the brightness, like so. And we can put it over here, or here. So that is all up to you. Put it over here. The thing is, if you don't see the sun, the bloom doesn't make much sense. So you can get rid of that as well. Something like this. It's very high. You can see the shadows are moving towards us. You can actually, with clicking shift, you can add a second sun. And when you click, then you have control over the second one. We can make it like this, increase the brightness or decrease it, something like that, or we can just get rid of it as well. That's actually quite nice. And what you could do is to make it more realistic, and that is also part of the scale thing. I'm going to now, yeah, you see, I wanted to move the mountain, but I forgot to deactivate the true sky texture builder, so it clicked where my sun is, something like that, over here, and there. I want to move this one a little bit, maybe a little bit higher, and more to the right, like so. Yeah, like that. And you probably have, you can use Sketchfab or any free 3D setting. So what would be a good idea is to add a hut, someone walking on the path, or some background building. And what I'm going to do is I'm taking, what I'm going to do is Let's go with medieval. I like that setting from big, medium, small quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a walking knight. Just walking. So maybe this one. I'm putting it over here. And now the important thing again is scaling, because you can see how large our, exactly, you can see how large our grasses are. So let's bring that up like so. And he should be, where is our knight? He should be on top. Yeah, he should be on top of our path, something like that. And we should give him some, I don't know where he's coming from or getting it, I don't know. So let's just bring in a tower over here. And that is actually up to scale, because we didn't change a lot over here. Like here and over there. Bring that down. So let's bring that. That is actually not where I want it. As you can see, yeah, over here. There, and then we're bringing that up like so. Maybe make it a little bit bigger like so, and let's see what we get. So the first thing you need to remember is that what you're seeing when it starts to render is not the final result, because right now it's exposed on some level. I don't know, I haven't figured it out, but eventually it will look like your scene in the viewport, but it is part of the post-processing. So that will take a couple of minutes. So I'm stopping here and I'll show you the final result. Okay, so a couple of seconds to go. I want to show you the transition of what you're seeing and how the yeah. So what you can see is this is our scene. I think the background mountains give it a nice touch. It's rather dark, which is not a problem at all, because what we're going to do now is we can play with, so let's see if that is what we see in the viewport, because that should match, and it does usually. I hope that works. Okay, the circle of doom. Let's see if that is resolved anytime soon. Okay, it eventually restarted. As you can see, it still renders on the right side. I put them side by side. On the left side you see the rendered result, and on the left side, and on the right side you see our scene in the viewport in the rendered view. And of course the left side is much more detailed, but the most important thing is that the overall exposure is very, very, very close to the rendered result. It should be actually the same, and you see it a little bit differently because all the assets and the details are rendered out. So if you think this is too dark, this can be easily done by compositing. So, and that will also change your result over here. So what we're going to do is going to add a color creative, no, color adjust. The first thing is we're going to take an exposure node, put that in here, and as well as this one, and we can just play slightly like so. And it is, of course you could do that in Photoshop or any photo editing tool as well, but right now we're just using Blender. So like this, so we get a little bit more detail also, and I think that looks absolutely fine. And you can play with any other node as well. And if you have set up your mist pass properly, and I recommend for that scene starting with, remember the front landscape is 100 by 100, so start with 250 to 2000, and then you could mix your mist pass as well and make the background even a little bit more mistier. I can not show you that because I would have to render it out again, because every time you use the True Terrain setup, the mist pass is resetted to 5 to 25 meters, so that would not give us any useful layer. So again, as I said, go with 250 to 2500, and you can then just bring it in and mix the color in to your liking. But right now I think that is pretty nice. We're going to save that, and I hope you like it. You have found something that is useful to you. Just go and play with True Sky 3. It's just an amazing stuff. It is heavy on your system because those are not just picture clouds, they're real volumes, and they are taking their toll on your system. Okay, that's it. Hope you like it. Hope you like the scene. And I would love to see what you come up with, how your scene look with your assets, with your approach. Join us on the Discord channel, True Terrain, True VFX, or send me a link on YouTube to your ArtStation or Instagram account where you have created something using this follow along. I would really appreciate that. If you have anything, any scene with True Terrain, True Sky, you want me to do a follow along, let me know, and see you next time.